Troy, Brianne, Vivek, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate being able to talk to you today.
Thanks for
Thank
talking to
you.
us.
Good to meet you, mate.
So first thing, it's a question for all three of you, and we can start with Troy. Tell me where you find your characters' voices for this film, because you find all three of your characters in very specific, very personal moments, and I want to know what your process is to bringing that out in you as actors and actresses.
Well, I got really lucky because the director, Jared Frieda, he also wrote the screenplay, and I knew him socially, and he has such a specific tone of voice. Like actually physically, his voice is so specific, and his humor is so specific. And I knew that voice, from hanging out with him. And so when I read the script, I was like, I know exactly how he hears this in his head. And so I basically just had to mimic what I think Jared speaks like.
Yeah,
Troy was very lucky. Brie and I just had to make it up.
yeah.
Troy had a sort of human person to base it on. Me and Brianne had to do a lot of acting. Not that
Oh,
Troy did do
shut
actually.
up. Troy did.
But, but yes, sorry, Brianne, continue.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you had, this incredible person to base it off of, but I think there was so much work and tapping into yourself that you had to do. I think that is kind of where I started with Dara, and Jared and I had a lot of conversations in the beginning, just like creating who she is. And I'm of Chinese and Indonesian descent. Dara was originally written to be Chinese. And the more Jared and I talked, the more he actually, and this has never happened before, he asked me, like, what do you want Dara's background to be? And I've never personally seen an Indonesian character portrayed in American television or film. And so I felt like that was an opportunity. I felt like that was a specific choice to make. And I wanted, I was game to make that choice. And so was Jared. And, and then after that, we just kind of built this whole character from the ground up. But I had a lot of, help, like working with Viviek and Troy. It was like, they helped kind of fill in the blanks, especially the friendship between our characters.
Yeah, I think for myself as well, Esther's sort of fairly deadpan, which I found quite fun, until obviously, stuff happens. But initially sort of fairly deadpan. And I quite enjoyed that just sort of, that sort of surface level, incredibly poker faced vibe that some people give off. We have no idea what they're thinking, especially in a sort of teen relationship moment. That can be presumably for the other side quite hard to deal with when, you kind of loving someone a little bit and they're not really showing you what's going on behind.
One of my takeaways is really the friendship between Caleb and Dara. So I wanted to ask you both how important it is to reciprocate support to one another and it not being one way and just, as a message to friends in general.
Well, I'm not really Troy's friend. He's only my friend. So.
No way. No, I think, you know what? It was one of the things that I responded to so much when I read the script was this idea of like chosen family, I think when, especially as like a queer person, you can kind of go through your whole life really seeking some sort of validation that you didn't get as a kid through like romantic relationships. And it's when you stop and you take a second and you look around at your friends and the people that have been with you through, they're going to be there through terrible boyfriend after terrible boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is. And ultimately, it's like in the search for love, sometimes you just have to stop and like look around and it's already there, It was very sweet, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had it ultimately quite the support system that maybe your character didn't necessarily see with your grandma, with Dara, and so it was interesting to watch that unfold. I also wanted to touch a little bit on Vivek, on your character. It was interesting to see your mannerisms when you were out with the group, when you were at the karaoke or out versus at home, and just the way you kind of tensed up, and it seemed like you were really forcing yourself to be someone that you didn't want to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because there was a sort of I think it's a balance between the tense and the relaxed. And I think it's interesting because actually you don't really see him have conversations with his parents or anything like that in the film. It's a sort of it's sort of idea of it. And I think more than anything, it's probably more of a mental battle. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to there being any sort of dialogue, as a you know, you're talking to yourself in your mind, going, "What's going on here?" Do you know what I mean? And it's and the idea that uh, the idea that someone would have the perception that they wouldn't be loved by those that they love and love them uh, due to the fact that they love someone the same genderism is quite horrifying. So to deal with that in the mind is probably quite tough for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. Great film, great job, all three of you. I really enjoyed it, and I know a lot of people out there will too. It was really nice to meet you today, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, take care.